Hi there guys, in today's video I wanted to show you how I made this replica Scarlet Witch crown from WandaVision and show you how I do some of my UV resin printing as well. I downloaded both the Scarlet Witch crown and WandaVision logo STL files from Cults 3D. I'll link the files in the description box below in case you want to make your own version of this display. Now, this particular project I made for someone else, so I had to scale it to fit them using the Cura Slicer software. Once the crown was correctly scaled, I printed it on my old Elegoo Neptune 2 FDM printer. In the video, you can see some of the plastic stringing at the start of the print, but thankfully it didn't affect the rest of the model. Once I had removed the supports, I covered the entire model with wood filler and sanded it back to get rid of the layer lines. As you can imagine, this was not an easy task due to the number of grooves that weave through the entire model. I gave the model a thick coat of grey primer, and once that had dried, I wet sanded it back. Because I clearly have too much time on my hands, I did another coat of wood filler, sanded it down, again, before the final coat of grey primer was applied. When the crown was as smooth as I could make it, it was time to move on to the base coat of red acrylic paint. I did 2 coats of red paint, and once it had dried, I coated the crown with a gloss clear coat. I always leave my gloss clear coats 24 hours to fully dry, just so I don't leave any fingerprints on the model. It was then time to darken the grooves within the crown. I mixed up some burnt umber and black paint for this and coated the entire model. Once the paint had dried, I took some cotton buds dipped in water and started removing the darker paint from the top layer of the crown, while leaving it in the recessed grooves. Because I had previously glossed the red paint, this meant the water could not remove or dilute the red paint underneath the darker paint. Once the darker paint was removed, I then did a second coat of gloss clear coat over the entire crown. Because this is meant to be a wearable costume piece, I measured some elastic and cut it to size. I then superglued the elastic in place and added 2 tiny M1 screws to each side for some more support, just in case the superglue failed. Because the crown is quite fragile, I wanted some kind of stand to keep it safe when not being used, so I bought this felt coated mannequin head online, which creates a cool looking display. Now, I was going to post this video as is, with the crown just displayed on the mannequin head, but I felt something was missing. So, I found this WandaVision logo on Cults 3D and decided to print it in clear red resin to add to the base of the display. I arranged a few of these on the Cheeto box slicer, scaling the logos to make them the width of the mannequin head base. I added Elegoo's own water washable clear red resin to my Elegoo Saturn 8K resin printer and started to print. This print only took around an hour due to the height of the models on the build plate. Once the print was finished, I tilted the build plate 90 degrees. This lets the excess resin drip back into the vat tank before funneling the resin back into its bottle. As this resin is water washable, I added some water to my wash tank rather than cleaning alcohol and let the machine clean the build plate and logos for 5 minutes. If you don't properly let a clear resin print dry before putting it in the UV curing station, you can end up with the piece looking white and frosty in sections. To avoid frosting, I removed the logos from the build plate and left them to dry in a dark room for 24 hours. Make sure this is a dark room with no sunlight, as any UV light can cause the print to start curing. I then took a hairdryer to the logos to dry off any remaining water and put them in the curing station. I let them cure for a few minutes before removing them, and they turned out great. So, although it's not something I would have made for myself, I think this Scarlet Witch crown display turned out well. I've now made a couple of Marvel props, so let me know in the comments below which Marvel character I should make in the future. I'd love to hear your ideas. This could either be a scaled figurine, or another prop from one of the movies or shows. In my next video, I'll be making another character from Small Soldiers, and as always, if you enjoyed this video and want to see more projects like this in the future, then be sure to click the like button and subscribe to my channel. Thank you for watching.